Greetings, my name is Zero, also known as Create Me Sanity. This is Pearl, and today I'm going to be showing y'all my 2023 knitting plans. A few things before I get into showing y'all the patterns that I am planning on knitting and crocheting. I do crochet as well. That is one of them. A majority of my plans here will be knitting. I do crochet, but I am not too strict about my crocheting. I don't know if that is the right word. I don't plan my crocheting the way I do my knitting because I have a lot of issues with the joints in my hands and my wrists, and crocheting can really aggravate that sometimes, so I don't have many plans for crochet. Also, there won't be a ton of organization to this video in the term, like in the way of here are all the sweaters, here are all of the hats. I'm going to be presenting these patterns based off of where the yarn is in my yarn shelves. That would just make it a lot easier for me to go and put everything back. All of these patterns I already have the yarn for, and I have everything right here in a spreadsheet. So if you see me looking at my phone, that is what I am looking at. Excuse me. And what was I going to say? All of these patterns are on Ravelry in some capacity. They have a Ravelry page. If they are not available for purchase on Ravelry, they're available for purchase on a website that is linked to a Ravelry page. I will have my Ravelry account linked down below. I will not have every single pattern linked because I have 45 patterns here, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, I'm a little too lazy for that. But I will have my Ravelry page linked down below so y'all can go through my favorites and you can see what it is. I will also have all of the pattern names with the designer listed in the description. So, yeah. Like I said, I'm not going to be organizing this video based off of pattern category, let's just say, but I will be starting with the sock patterns that I'm planning on knitting because that falls in line with my main knitting goal of 2023, which is to knit myself some socks that fit. I have weird feet. They're quite large, especially for like my height, and they're just weird, and because of that I've had a difficult time getting socks that fit me well, like knitting socks that fit me well. They have always wound up just a little bit too short or long in the foot. I also have flat feet but high arches, so I need a heel that has some space to it. So I'm going to show y'all all of the sock patterns that I'm planning on knitting right now. One more thing before we get into this. I'm only going to be showing one of like each skein that I have. I will not be pulling out the full quantities I have for the project. So if you see me pull out only one skein, and I'm talking about a pattern that will definitely require more than just that one skein, I do have the full quantity necessary for the project. So yeah, I'm just not going to drag everything down from my yarn shelves. So I have 6 sock patterns here, 4 of which are from the 52 Weeks of Socks book, and 2 are from designers independent of that book, so I'm going to talk about those 2 patterns first. Also, all of the sock yarn that I have here is Patton's Croy socks. So, yeah. This is the color. You'll never guess what it is. It's red. I said that sarcastic, but if you're like red-green colorblind, you might not have actually been able to guess what that is. Red. With the red, I am planning on knitting the Dustland socks by Stephen West. I have knit the hat and I have knit the shawl, and they were both enjoyable, so I want to knit myself a pair of the socks. And I have pretty large feet, so if I am knitting plain vanilla socks, I oftentimes get bored of them. So the Dustland socks are a simple pattern that will still keep my interest but not be too complex to take outside of the house. Next, I have the Patton's Croy socks in the Eclipse Stripes colorway, and I am planning on knitting the Heel Toe Do-Si-Do by the Crazy Sock Lady. Kay is kind of the, I mean, would it be safe to call her the matriarch of sock knitting? She does really good patterns and tutorials, and I already have this pattern and I want to knit it up, and this is a self-striping yarn, which is what the pattern calls for. So yeah. So next I have the Patton's Croy in the Clover colors. This is it's almost reminiscent of a spin cycle yarn, and when you look at pictures of this online, it does not capture the fact that it is a rainbow, and it's just a really pretty colorway. And with that, I am planning on knitting the Intersections socks by Marceline Smith. I got this book back in May for my 18th birthday, and after that I cast on a pair of Intersection socks, and they did not end up fitting. The heel was not deep enough because instead of doing pretty sure this calls for a reverse heel flap and gusset, I did a fish lips kiss heel, which with the cables did not provide me with enough space to even fit my foot in. So they wound up going to my mom, and I'll add a picture of those here. So I wanted to make a pair that would actually fit me, so I'm planning on using this for it. I think the cool thing about the Intersection socks is that, yes, it's a cable pattern, but it's not so complex to the extent of you can't use gradient yarns and yarns like this that kind of meld into like the different colors. I feel like a self-striping with this pattern might be a little too much for my taste, but with something like this that has transitions for the colors, I think that it will look nice with the Intersections pattern. I'm holding it upside down again. Next up, I have the Gentry Gray colorway, and there's a long strand coming from this skein because I used it for contrast heel in a pair of socks that I'm currently knitting. But with this yarn, I am planning on knitting the Snippet socks by Helen Stewart, I believe. Yep. The Snippet socks by Helen Stewart, which they're just a really gorgeous pattern, and feel like this is, I have a lot of the Patton's Croy socks in the FX, but I feel like this is one where you definitely need a solid, so that is what I am planning to do. And I feel like the top of this will require a little bit more concentration, but once I get to the foot, it will be pretty basic all the way through. But the little, what are those? Are those twisted stitches? Me awkwardly holding the book and then accidentally smacking myself with it. Fun times. A knot. If you hear a voice in the background, that is my mom yelling at the dog. He probably did something he should not be doing. Yeah, it just said knot. So I'll have to look into that, but these knots on the side here will provide some interest to what would otherwise be very plain knitting, and I knit a lot, so I need something with more interest to it to keep me interested. So yes, the Snippet socks by Helen Stewart. Next up, out of the Copper Colors colorway, I am planning on knitting the Tributary socks by Deanna Clinch, and I recorded myself trying to show it in the book, but there is a chart right next to it on the page right next to it, and I kept accidentally showing the chart, so I'm just going to put a picture up here if I can remember, so I don't accidentally end up leaking a pattern. Yeah, so I'll put a picture up here somewhere again if I can remember. But it is a pretty simple, let me flip back to it. So yeah, it's a pretty simple cable pattern, and I feel like with the gradation of this, it will look nice with the cable pattern. So Copper Colors. really should have bookmarked all of the patterns that I am planning to show from this book, because I do have bookmarks in here. However, they are for other patterns, so yeah. Haha, here we are. So out of the Patton's Koi socks, I am planning on using the gray marl for the Unity pattern by Niina Tanskanen. Oh, it says that right there. Why did I have to look at my spreadsheet for that? I could have just looked at the book that I have right in front of me. So this is another cable twisted stitch. I should have looked at these patterns a little bit more before trying to, yeah, it has crosses, like crossed stitches, which is essentially a cable. So, cabled socks. And yeah, I think that that'll look nice in the gray marl. And the sun just got a whole lot brighter. I have never seen, oh, okay. I love looking at charts and then seeing symbols that I have never seen before. That was sarcasm. But it says what the symbol is right there, and I know how to do that symbol, so we're all good. I'm going to go put all this sock yarn away before showing y'all more patterns. This portion of the video has been brought to y'all by Knitpicks. Actually, it hasn't. I just buy a lot of their yarn because it is in my price range. So, actually I didn't buy a lot of this, but I will get into that in a moment. So, fun little story for y'all. In October, my grandma went to the beach. Before she went to the beach, she was like, hey, what do you want me to get for you from the beach? I was like, yeah, there's a yarn store by the beach. Can you get me like a skein of pretty yarn? She's like, okay. She got me like 10 skeins, so more than just a skein. But I made a TikTok showing all of the skeins of yarn that she got, and it has over 1 million views now. I think over 100,000 likes. It blew up, and after it blew up, I had a few people asking me if I had an Amazon wish list because they too would like to purchase yarn for me. And that is actually where a lot of my yarn has come from recently. I have a very small budget because I am disabled and can't work, so knitting is pretty much all I do, and having so many people chip in and get me yarn has been a tremendous help because knitting is what I have to look forward to. So I remember all of the names of the people who sent me yarn. I had a spreadsheet because I like spreadsheets. But then my computer crashed and I lost that spreadsheet. So, but a lot of the yarn I'm going to show was sent to me. I'm pretty sure all of the Patton's Koi yarn was sent to me that I showed. I have purchased some of the colors in my stash, but I don't think that I purchased those colors. Those Patton's Koi colors. So, yeah, some of the yarn that I was sent was this Knitpicks Provincial Tweed in the black colorway. And with this, I am planning on knitting the Billie Pullover by Sari Nordland. This pattern had been on my list since it was first released, but I did not knit it when it was first released because I did not have the yarn for it, and I wanted to use this yarn, and getting it would be a big investment because my budget is very small. So this was one of the first yarns that I put on my wish list, and 2 people chipped in and got it for me. So I can finally knit the Billie Pullover by Sari Nordland. It was going to be my New Year's cast on. I did cast it on, but the night before I had an immune reaction. I have an immune disorder that makes me allergic to everything, and I had an allergic reaction. symptoms of anaphylaxis, fun stuff, and I took Benadryl. And the next day, I was so loopy from the Benadryl that I cast on the Billie pullover, started working on it, and realized after 3 hours of work that I was doing the cables wrong because I misread the charts. And I'm just going to blame the Benadryl and not the fact that I just was not paying attention to the charts like I should have. But I am planning on knitting this one quite soon. I have a skein of it already caked up, and yes, I can finally knit the Billie pullover. So, more knit picks provincial tweet that was sent to me. This is the gray colorway, and with it I am planning on knitting the Favo sweater by Fibertales. It is another pattern that was on my list for a long time that I could not afford the yarn for. Like, I could not afford to get the yarn that I wanted to use for it, which was this. So, yes, it's another one of the patterns that I would not be able to knit, at least wouldn't have been able to knit for a little while, given my budget, out of the yarn I wanted. So now I get to knit it this year. So, yes. I love knitting cables, the end color work, but the problem with that, especially in the first half of last year, was that at the rate that I knit things, I only really had the budget to purchase large sweater quantities in acrylic and sometimes cotton. So with colorwork and cable patterns, you can do them in acrylic or cotton. It's just better with wool because of the properties of the fiber. So yeah, I just was not knitting a lot of the patterns that I really wanted to knit, and now I can. So one last colorway of Knit Picks Provincial Tweed. This is the Salsa Verde colorway, and let me look at my little spreadsheet really quick to make sure that I am saying the correct thing. I am planning on knitting the Laura vest by Irene Lynn. This is one of my favorite colors. I hold this shade of green very near and dear to my heart. You can't really see that well because it's covered by my hat, but my hair is split dyed green and purple, and my eyes are green, so like green and purple are my colors. And this yarn, that's just one of my favorite shades of green of all time, with purple tweed bits, just gorgeous, and I cannot wait to knit this vest out of it. So yeah, such a nice yarn. Just wanna give it a big ol' hug. Time for a shawl. So if y'all keep up with the knitting community and if you're really into it, you've probably heard of Stephen West's mystery knit along that occurs every October. And I purchased the yarn for this past knit along, the Twists and Turns. I was planning on knitting it. However, in October I had a pretty bad flare-up caused by the change of the seasons, and I did not knit that much, but I still have the yarn for it, and I am planning on knitting it this year. Because I know a lot of people kind of feel iffy about the pattern. It's just not as many, like, it's not everyone's taste, and, it is what it is. That's kind of what happens when you join a mystery knit along. You don't exactly know what you're going to get, but I really enjoy the look of the pattern, and yes, these two are going to be my main colors, and this is going to be my contrasting color. So yes, this is the Pea Pod colorway, which is one of my favorite Knit Picks colorways. I have knit with it a lot. This is black, and this is the Paisley Heather. And I realized while looking at it, I don't think Knit Pick Stroll has a good, like, amethyst color, like purple, which is like one of my favorite shades of purple. This is more of a pinky purple, which isn't exactly my favorite type of purple, but it, with the rest of this, it looks good. So yes. Next we have some Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. This is not all of what I have for projects that I'm planning to use it for. I have some over on that yarn shelf, but right now I'm just pulling off of this yarn shelf, so there will be more of it later in the video. But I have 10 skeins of the Cobblestone Heather colorway, and I am planning on knitting the, I had it right here, Snowy Forest by Midori Hirose. It is a nice oversized sweater with a cable yoke, and something about oversized sweaters out of this yarn, it just brings me so much joy. Also, I can't wear close fitting things with this yarn because of my immune disorder, so if it's out of wool of the Andes, it has to be oversized. I say that as if I don't almost exclusively knit oversized garments. Yeah, this is another yarn that was got for me off of my wish list that I'm super thankful for, so yes. More wool of the Andes and more Midori Hirose. This is the Noble Heather colorway. It's just a gorgeous green. I actually spun up some fiber in this colorway, which it was super fun to do. That was over the summer, I think, and I haven't spun ever since because, yeah, when I was spinning with the drop spindle, to put spin in it, I was kind of running it off of, like, the inside of my leg, you know, kind of like this, to put some spin in it. And I bruise easily, and my skin is fragile, so I ended up with a massive bruise on my leg from the drop spindle. So I haven't really touched it ever since, but it's a really pretty colorway that I really enjoy. And did I mention that I'm planning on knitting the Tulip Guernsey by Midori Hirose? It's kind of a more modern take on a Guernsey. If I remember correctly, a lot of Guernseys are knit with an extremely tight gauge because you want a dense fabric to provide a lot of warmth. This, I believe, is at a looser gauge, so could be a tad bit wrong about that, but I'm just running off of memory because on my spreadsheet here I did not think to add in the gauge. Also, I never gauge swatch, so I mean, I take that back. I gauge swatch when I'm doing test knits. But other than that, I don't gauge swatch. So, yes, I am planning on using this for the Tulip Guernsey. If you hear sounds in the background, those are the cats and the dog. We have 4 cats and a dog. Y'all saw Pearl. She's my cat. She's an angel. Next up, I have the Wool of the Andes worsted again in the Forest Heather colorway. This is the color that I used for my Lume by Sari Nordland for the contrast color in the yoke, and I believe it's at the cuff of the sleeves as well. I literally just knit that in December, why don't I remember? It was my Christmas sweater for 2022. It is a really gorgeous color. The Noble Heather has some more, I want to say, blue tones to it, while this one is definitely more of a yellow toned green. This one's a little bit warmer, this one's a little bit cooler. So, yes, I am planning on knitting the Claret by Thea Coleman out of it, which is, I believe it's oversized, or I'm planning on knitting it oversized. I knit everything oversized, pretty much everything. It is a V-neck cabled sweater that has also been on my radar for a while, and it's just one of those patterns that I wanted to knit. I just needed the yarn for it, and now I have the yarn for it, so I can knit it. I don't know when this year I am planning on knitting it. I haven't gone too much, further in my planning process other than listing all of the patterns that I'm planning to knit. And I have rough ideas of when I'm planning to knit some of them, but it may be early this year or later this year when it starts to cool down again. But yes. Also, with this yarn paired with the Coal colorway, which you'll be seeing a decent bit of this because I have a lot of it. I have at least 2 10-packs that have not been used yet, so I have a decent bit of it. And I am planning on knitting Ascend by Tif Neilan out of this. I think that will be really, really nice. Ascend is another one of those patterns that had just been on my radar for a while. I think with that pattern, I didn't exactly know which yarn I wanted to knit it with. So I think I'm going to use these two, and it will be nice. Yeah. There's a bit of a color story starting right here. With the Wool of the Andes in the Cole colorway, I am planning on knitting the Brown Derby cardigan by Thea Coleman. It is a button-up, believe it's a V-neck. I'm working off of my memory here. Cardigan that I just think would be gorgeous with this yarn. And I really enjoy this yarn for cardigans. I can't have it extremely up close to my skin, so it needs to be oversized. And I have knit my favorite cardigan, like probably my favorite sweater that I have ever knit, out of this yarn, and it is so warm. It is the Possibility of Crows by Disyarning, and I wear it all the time, and it is out of this yarn. And I love it so much, and I want another cardigan out of this yarn. Yeah, I'm not one of those people who's sensitive to wool in the way that it itches. I'm one of those people who is sensitive to wool as in my immune system does not like me and will sometimes react to having like wool up too close to my skin with symptoms of anaphylaxis, which is not fun, so I try to avoid that. So, yes. Another pattern that I am planning to knit out of this yarn is the Wings for Nightbird shawl by Teresa Yoon. It is a... Hi, Luna. It is a lace shawl that is meant to kind of mimic, like the motif is meant to kind of look like feathers. And that is my favorite type of lace motif. I'm an enjoyer of crows and ravens and just the lace shawls that's the almost feather-like motifs out of black yarn. It brings me a lot of joy. And lace is one of those things that I'm trying to get more into this year. So I think this will be really enjoyable, and it is on the list of things that I want to cast on really soon. So I'm hoping I can get to that. And yeah, depending on how much of this I have left over from the other 3 projects that I want to use it in, because I think I'll have a decent bit left over. I am going to be knitting another sweater out of this. I think I should probably knit like a basic black pullover because I think I'd get a lot of wear out of that. But I haven't decided on a pattern yet. I'm just thinking about it. Last of the Knitpicks yarn. When they were having one of their sales, I treated myself to some mohair. I pretty much only ever get mohair when it is on sale, so yeah. It is the Eggplant colorway. I got 3 things of it for the Love Note by Tin Can Knits, which is a lace yoke sweater that is knit with a strand of mohair and a strand of fingering. And the fingering weight that I'm planning on pairing it with is the... I'm going to butcher this if I try to pronounce it, but it is another yarn that I got off of my Amazon wish list. It is the UUA. I don't know how to pronounce things. It is 100% fine merino, and a look that I really enjoy is a black yarn paired with a colored mohair. I'm working on the Usagi by Disyarning for a test knit. The pattern will be out on February 14th, and I am knitting that with a strand of black and a strand of mohair, and that is not black, and if you twist those up, it's almost like a black sweater with a colored halo, and I really enjoy that look. So I am planning on knitting the Love Note by Tanskanen Knits with it. And I think I'll have some left over of this yarn, but not enough for me to knit a whole other sweater out of it. I have 4 skeins that are 281 yards. So I'm gonna stick those back in their little bag that they came in. Get in there! And it zips and everything. Whee! I was originally planning on knitting the Love Note as a Valentine's Day sweater. I'm not a celebrator of Valentine's Day. I've never been in a relationship. I don't ever plan on being in a relationship. When I had, like, friends in real life that I would see on a regular basis, like, we kind of did a Palentine's, but I'm not a celebrator of Valentine's Day, but I thought that it would be cool to wear that. I like knitting sweaters to wear for events, but I am knitting a sweater that holds mohair with fingering right now, and I'm having a lot of problems with the mohair cutting into the top of my finger where I tension my yarn and just causing a lot of pain. So I think when I'm done with that, I need to take a break from mohair. Speaking of yarn that my grandma got me, this is the Variations fingering in the Audacious Amethyst colorway. It is a 75-25. The 75 is Australian Merino and the 25 is nylon. I have knit a sweater out of this yarn in a different colorway, and I am almost tempted to knit a sweater out of this. I might actually do that. I'm talking about my plans now, and they already might be changing. So the thing that I was planning to knit with this is Through the Witch's Garden by Melinda Measor. It is a lace shawl, which I'm trying to get more into lace, and I'm thinking, what if I did it in black instead? I really like the look of black lace shawls, and then paired, knock stuff over, this with this, because the sweater that I knit out of the green yarn I had in this was the Ranunculus by Midori Hirose, holding it with some mohair, and it is so soft and dreamy. So what if I knit the Love Note in this? Deliberation. That's the fun thing about knitting plans, is that they are pretty much always subject to change. It's like, these are the patterns that I'm telling myself that I'm going to be knitting in 2023. And I'm going to try to knit most of them in 2023. Will I be knitting all of them in 2023 with the same yarns that I'm talking about knitting them out of now? Who knows? Is that me being a pessimist? Maybe. Though I'd like to think myself more of a realist. But I am planning on knitting the Love Note and the Through the Witch's Garden shawl by Melinda Measor. What yarn I am planning on knitting that with might change. Something that will not be changing, at least I hope not, because I purchased this yarn specifically for that project, is the I Am Dragon #2 by Alexandra Davidoff, which is a dragon scale type little neck thingy. It's like a mini shawl, a kerchief. And I was originally knitting that with a yarn that was more kind of busy in its variegation and speckling, and I just thought that it was too busy for the pattern, so I ripped it out. I made something different with it. And then I purchased this yarn. This is Hellfire Fibers in the color The Raven, and I love this color so much. I am considering, maybe for my birthday, I'll treat myself to a sweater quantity. Not like a big sweater quantity, but in like a sweater quantity as in I'll knit a ranunculus or a Love Note out of it, because that would only take like 2 skeins. Yeah, I really love this colorway. I like darker tones, and I also like purple and green, and blue is a color I enjoy. It's not one of my favorites, but I do enjoy it, and I This yarn is just so gorgeous, and I think that it will be great out of the, like, it will be great with this pattern, and yeah. Now that I'm looking up close at it in natural lighting for the first time in a while, dang, this is really pretty. I'm gonna start saving money so I can buy a sweater quantity of that. Next yarn I have, this is another one of those hand-dyed yarns where to me it's just like me in a skein of yarn. This is Evergreen Yarn Studio in the, Haunted Halloween colorway, and green and purple, my two favorite colors, and neon green and neon purple are, oh geez, it's bright. Woo! Neon green and neon purple, two of my favorite shades of those colors. It also has some darker green right here from when it goes into the black. But I am planning on knitting a Musselburgh hat by Ysolda Teague. I am actually wearing one right now. This is out of DK weight. But I'm planning on knitting a Musselburgh hat out of this. I might be casting it on later in February because I have a doctor's appointment that I need stockinette for. So, yeah. I saw this yarn while I was scrolling through Etsy and I kind of just had to have it. I also got another skein in a different colorway that I'm not going to be showing in this video because I don't exactly have plans for that yet. But, it's just so nice. And I feel like this is one of those colors where I'd be like, yes, time to buy a sweater quantity of it. However, it is variegated in the sense of I think that it would pull massively, and I don't know how I'd feel about that. Also, I am too lazy to alternate skeins, so it has to be, like, if I'm knitting a sweater out of a hand-dyed yarn, it has to be one of those ones where if I'm not alternating skeins, it won't look weird. So yeah, I will be knitting a Musselburgh hat by Ysolda Teague out of this yarn, and I think it will be great. I wear this one all the time. It actually has red on the inside, and I love it so much. This yarn is from Robin's Promise. This yarn is not from Robin's Promise. Evergreen Yarn Studio is one of my favorite dyers, and I definitely have not thought about purchasing a sweater quantity before and then realized that it's not exactly in my price range at the moment. I say that sarcastically. I feel like as this video progresses, the state of my bed in the background with my pile of yarn on it will be changing a lot. That'll be an interesting to look at while editing. Another yarn from another one of my favorite dyers. This is Getting It Faced in Colorado in the Midnight Prism colorway. It is very reminiscent of the album cover for Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Fun fact about me is that my birthday cake for my 14th birthday was Dark Side of the Moon themed, and it was just really nice. Yeah. So I am planning on knitting a pair of single cable gloves by Subversively Stitched out of this. I knit a pair for my mom 2 years ago, and after I finished that one, I wanted to knit a pair for myself. I just didn't know what color I wanted to knit it in. I think this will be the one. Okay, if I untwist it a little bit, you might be able to see the color a little bit better. I just really love this color. It is a DK weight, which I think this is my first time in a very long time buying DK weight hand-dyed yarn, because I typically have it in my budget to buy 1 or 2 skeins at a time, and I find you can get more out of 1 skein of fingering, so that is what I usually buy. But she was having a end of year sale, trying to clear out inventory, so I got myself a skein. Yeah, just dyes really gorgeous yarn. So I think this will make an amazing pair of gloves, and it might be one of my next cast-ons. Back to the Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, this time in sport weight. I have the Midnight Heather colorway that I'm planning on using for the Some Me Time shawl by Joji Locatelli. I've been following Joji's patterns for a while. I've never knit one, but there have been several that I have enjoyed the look of, and I really want to get this yarn out of stash. I got it 2 years ago during a sale, and I was planning on knitting something else out of it, but it just was not working out in the way that I wanted it to. I also think it involved a lace stitch all the way throughout, and 2 years ago, that was when I was still twisting all of my yarn overs, and it did not look how it was supposed to. So I ripped it all out, and I just don't want to cast back on with that pattern. So instead, I'm going to cast on with the Joji pattern. Yeah, this is a really pretty heather. It is a dark blue with some green heathered in. If I put it, yeah, you can see it. Oh, I just had an Etsy order delivered. Huh. Yes. This is another shawl that incorporates lace. I've mentioned before in this video that I want to knit more lace. I am mostly a sweater knitter. Last year I knit 34 sweaters and haven't done much lace. Like, even though I enjoy it, I just hadn't done much lace because a lot of lace sweaters aren't exactly my taste. What are you doing? Come here, Puppo. Hello. You want to come up? You want to join me? Come on. Oh. Not on the desk, okay? Hey. What did I just tell you? Not on the desk. Also, out of the Wool of the Andes in the sport weight, I am planning on knitting a sweater vest version of The Kindness of Ravens by Disyarning. This pattern has not been released yet. It is being released at the end of January. And I test knit it, and while I was test knitting it, both I and a lot of other people, so I guess it wouldn't be both wouldn't be the right word, but I and a lot of other people pointed out that it would make a really nice sweater vest. So I am planning on a sweater vest. The main body will be this color, the moons and stuff will be in this color, and there's kind of a strip of a third color that goes across the ravens. So I think this will be really nice as a sweater vest, and I've been wanting to knit more sweater vests, but I've had a hard time finding patterns that I enjoy. I think that this would make a really nice sweater vest. So yes, I'm just going to be knitting the pattern as says because it is a bottom up, and it is has a short row sleeve cap when you're doing the sleeves, so I can just not do the sleeves and add some ribbing here instead and get a sweater vest. So I do not know when I will be starting it. Pearl, are you trying to eat plastic? I don't know when I'll be starting it. I think I need a break from bottom-up sweaters that have you cast on more than 200 stitches, because I'm working on one right now, and yeah. I also need a break from small needles. I have really weird finger joints that really hurt with small needles, so if I knit a lot with small needles. So I think my next projects need to have, my next sweater projects at least need to have larger needles, but I digress. Speaking of both knit picks and sweater projects, this is the Knit Picks Upcycle Alpaca Blend. I got this on sale for like $4.99 a skein, now it is $9.99, so I'm happy I got it on sale. I got 5 of these, and I have already started using this for the Big Love by Ankestrik. I knit a version of it last year using a blend that had polyamide in it. No, wait. Using a blend that had polyester in it. And there's just something about polyester that when it is used in blends, I cannot stand the texture of it. It's fine while knitting on it, but I just don't wear the cardigan, which is a shame because it's a nice cardigan. So I wanted to knit it again. So I already actually have the body finished. It was my New Year's cast on for this year. I still have the sleeves left to go. And I'm currently blocking that, which is why I can't show it, but it's one of my plans for this year. You shed a lot. Can you see that? So, yes. And a few weeks ago, because because I've really been enjoying knitting with this yarn, I was looking into getting another sweater quantity of it, and I saw that the price went from $4.99 a skein to $9.99 a skein, and I will not be getting another sweater quantity of it unless there's another sale. Your claws need trimmed. You need to trim your claws. Then brush you. I brushed you yesterday. How can you already be shedding this much? Another Sari Nordland pattern. I only have 2 patterns from her on here, but I already feel like I've talked about her a decent bit. I don't know. I have some of the Patents Classic Wool DK Superwash. This is the eggplant colorway. And I am planning on knitting the Aurelia Pullover by Sari Nordland. And it's a all over kind of cable sweater. I think that would be gorgeous in this purple. I'm trying to balance the fact that I know I'll wear black more often with the fact that I also enjoy complex cables and textures, and that those don't always show the best in black. Trying to find a balance there, and I think a nice darker purple would be good. This is a shade of purple that I really enjoy. Of course I enjoy it because I'm planning to knit a sweater out of it. Pearl, what are you doing? Are you sticking your head in a bag of yarn? Are you smelling it? Please do not lick that because that is non-superwash and I do not want it felted to your tongue. I don't think you want it felted to your tongue either. Yes, this is more yarn actually that I got off of my wish list. What's with you and bags of yarn? Just you and yarn. More of the Patents Classic Wool DK Superwash. I have the dark gray heather colorway. I literally have it on a spreadsheet right in front of me. So, I did not need to search around for that color because I have it right in front of me. I'm a mess. I'm planning on knitting the Sea Haven sweater by Jennifer Shields Tolan, which is a DK weight sweater with a textured yoke and stockinette body and sleeves, and that is something that I really enjoy. I enjoy patterns that have a more complex yoke with a simpler body and sleeve situation because I enjoy the complex knitting, but I don't always have I have a lot of issues with brain fog and mental fatigue, and sometimes I also just need something simple. I also read while knitting, and Pearl, can you please get your head out of the yarn bag? I put a bag of yarn on the floor for 2 seconds, and you're already there, sticking your head in the yarn bag. Don't look at me like I'm crazy. Anyway, I also read while I knit, and I am learning that sometimes endless fields of stockinette can be good for reading. Because before I was not a stockinette enjoyer, it just was not interesting enough for me. But if I multitask enough and like listen to music, read a book, because like simply watching a TV show and knitting stockinette is not fun enough for me. So I need to do more. I'm one of those people who thrives off of multitasking and having several different things going on in the background while I'm doing something, but only if it is in my control. Because if it is not in my control, it is oftentimes too much. So, Sea Haven by Jennifer Shields Toland and Aurelia Pullover by Sari Nordland. Also, I'm pretty sure that this includes baubles. I would have already put a picture up here so y'all can see it. And Pearl, get out of the yarn bag! Get out of the bag of yarn! Pearl, out of the bag of yarn! Stop trying to chew it! One of my favorite designers of all time is James N. Watts. I have knit a majority of their sweater patterns, and another one was released recently, which is the Beads of Joy, and it is a modular sweater pattern, and James has a lot of patterns that work really well with Noro and similar gradating yarns. I have knit one of their patterns out of Noro, the Mystic Square, because I was able to get it on sale at Webb's. This is not Noro, this is 100% acrylic from Michaels. It is soft though. This is the Facets from Loops and Threads in the Juniper colorway. And Michaels is having a sale, so thought, why not? So, yes, it is a purple and green with a bit of blue gradient yarn, which I think one thing that you could probably guess from this video so far is that I am a sucker for a good purple and green yarn. Yeah, I am not someone who is against the use of acrylic for garments. It definitely has its uses, and thanks to the Amazon wishlist, I am now able to use more wool, but sometimes, especially with my skin sensitivities, it is nice to be able to wear a comfortable acrylic thingy. So, yes, I am planning on knitting the Beads of Joy by James N. Watts out of this. Yeah. Last summer was kind of my summer of James, as I called it, and like everything I was knitting was a James N. Watts pattern. So, yeah. More Loops and Threads yarn that was also on sale. This is the Natural Marl in the Emerald colorway. Hey, that's my birthstone. It's another purple and green yarn, so of course. It has a tiny bit of wool content, 9%. I feel like Loops and Threads has a habit of sticking natural and wool on the names of their yarns when it's only like less than 10% wool. But it's pretty. And with this, I'm planning to crochet a virus shawl. I've crocheted 2 before in the past, neither of which were for myself, and I've been wanting to crochet one for myself. So I'm planning to use this to crochet a virus shawl, and I have a tiny bit already started because that was the original like intent of what I purchased it for. I didn't purchase it, my mom purchased it, she gave it to me for Christmas. But that was what it was originally intended for, but I just wanted to crochet a little tiny bit of it to make sure that that is what I was ready to settle on. And this was while I was setting up my dog just squeaked. I don't know. Fenway, our dog, he oftentimes makes noises that sound as if he is injured, but in reality, he is a medium-sized dog that tries to bark a lot louder than he can manage, and whines. Oh, I know what's happening. My dad is eating, and Finway is sitting in front of him and whining because he wants human food too. But Finway cannot have human food. He's already been diagnosed with obesity. The last thing that he needs is human food. That is not a part of his diet. Look at me going off on a tangent about the dog. So I crocheted a little bit for the virus shawl and decided that yes, that is really what I wanted to do with it. And this yarn is very round, and I just like the way that that looks in the crochet. So I don't know when I'll be officially starting this project. I think over the summer I'll be working a lot more on shawls as opposed to sweaters, because I have a lot more winter type sweaters on my list than I do summer type. But I also don't know how this would be to work up in the summer with the heat and just the texture of the yarn with the fluff there. I don't know. This also has a polyester content, which is typically like a no for being near my skin. But because it's a shawl, I don't think I'll run into any major issues. So if I do run into any major issues, I can give it away to someone in my family. So yes. Whenever I hold this thing, I feel like I'm holding a child. I don't have a lot of experience holding children. I don't, like, when my niece was born, my brother was like, oh, do you want to hold her? It's like, my brother, I randomly lose consciousness and have seizures. I do not think that you want me to hold your child. Like, I don't think that would be a good idea. I can hold a yarn child, though, because if I drop this, nothing will really happen to it. I mean, a cat might try to steal it, but, it's a little too big for a cat to steal. This is Lion Brand Pound of Love in the Claret colorway. I really hope I'm pronouncing that word right. Is it Claret? Claret? It is a word. Rouge Bordeaux. I know how to pronounce Bordeaux. It is a dark red, and typically I am not a wearer of much red. The inside of this hat is red, and there are some red speckles on the outside, but it's not extremely red. I don't wear a lot of red because the most visible color in my hair is the green, and it may just be a me thing, but I am not someone who wants to look like Christmas year-round. I barely even want to look like Christmas during Christmas. All of my Christmas sweaters are like Fair Isle, not like overly Christmassy Christmas sweaters. I'm not a Grinch. I don't hate Christmas. I, however, am not a fan of the, like, for me personally, the over Christmassy Christmas. And the dog is whining for some food again. Human food. He's not allowed to have human food. But this is one of those shades of red that I do like wearing, a dark red, because next to my hair, it does not give off the same Christmas vibes as like a bright red would, like this. So I've knit a sweater out of this before. It is what I knit my first ranunculus out of, and I worn it a lot, but that was when I was still twisting my yarn overs, so the little lace motif that is really gorgeous in that pattern does not show in my first version of it, which is sad. Should probably tell y'all what I'm planning to knit out of this before I keep going off on tangents. I am planning to knit the single malt sweater by Maxim Sear. When it comes to purchasing patterns, I am someone who will wait until I am about to knit a pattern before I purchase it, because I haven't always, like, I don't always have the budget to just randomly buy patterns. I do enjoy supporting designers, however, it is not exactly, I'm not exactly in the position to randomly purchase patterns. However, when Max was having the Pride Month sale on all of his patterns, and I took advantage of that sale and purchased the single malt pattern. It's like, well, I will knit it eventually, and I am planning on knitting it eventually. I think it might actually be one of the next sweaters I cast on. I keep saying that. I keep saying, oh, this will be one of the next things I cast on. I will cast something on eventually once I finish projects that I have on the go right now. I think this would make a nice sweater. Single malt sweater by Maxim Seeger. It is like one of my favorite types of kind of basic sweaters, where it's a raglan. It's pretty basic in construction. However, it has a textured stitch all over, and I love me a good textured stitch. It's a little bit more for my brain than just stocking knit. However, I can still do most things while knitting on textured stitches. It's like when I could still walk around without using forearm crutches. Hi, my name is Zero and my body is falling apart. Before I was using forearm crutches and I could walk around normally, I would actually walk around in Walmart even while knitting. Because it's like Walmart is a lot for me, and I have to have something else going on so I don't lose my mind. And I have knit on like the ribbing and stuff like that while walking around in Walmart of sweaters. Next, I have some of this. Well, I don't have that anymore. Pick that up. I have some of this Tehet 35% merino blend yarn. It is 35% merino, 25% nylon, 20% acrylic, and 20% viscose. And I have enough of this to hold it double and knit the Love Magic sweater. That's what it is called, right? There was yep, it's the Love Magic sweater. I remember there was a name change to the pattern. It is a Love Magic sweater now. By Disco Stitch, which is, I'm gonna put it up on screen like I have been doing with the rest of these patterns. Hopefully, if I remember to. Yes, I am planning on holding it double for the Love Magic sweater by Disco Stitch. And it is another one of those sweater patterns that I keep thinking in my brain, oh, I really want to cast this on, I really want to cast this on, I really want to cast this on. I'm working on sweater, like a test knit right now that I really need to get finished, and while I'm working on that, I'm thinking, well, I really want to cast on the Love Magic sweater, I really want to cast on the Love Magic sweater, I really want to cast it on. I think what I'm going to start prioritizing, though, in terms of getting stuff out of my stash is stuff like this, where I can actually look at how many skeins of it I have. I have 9 skeins of this, so I'm trying to get out some of the larger quantities, like with a lot of skeins, so I can create more space. So I really want to cast this on. I just think that, like, with my hair and just very nice. Yeah. Next, we have some yarn from the dollar store. This is Premier Yarn, or the $1.25 store, I guess now. This is Premier Just Yarn Tweed. This is the charcoal tweed colorway, and this is the, oh, the charcoal tweed is smaller than the denim tweed. This is denim tweed, right? Yes, this is denim tweed. I have a bunch of this from the $1.25 store, and I have used this yarn before in a colorwork sweater, and that is what I'm planning to do again. I used it to knit my 2021 Christmas sweater, which was the Alf Miley by Lidis Jonsdotter, and I've worn it a lot. It is probably my most worn sweater. I'm planning to knit another colorwork sweater out of this, and it is going to be the Astraeus sweater by Megan Reagan, also known as Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits. That is her podcast, and I have seen all episodes of her podcast, and I followed the design process of the Astraeus sweater, and it is just a gorgeous sweater that I have wanted for a long time. So I think once I get the, did another cat just walk into my room? I think once I get the motivation to knit an all over colorwork sweater, I'm going to knit the Astraeus. I also have a lot of skeins in this in my stash. How many? I have 13 of the black and 3 of the gray blue. I think it's gonna be gorgeous in this pattern. And yes, back to the loops and threads yarn. I have some of the Cozy Wool Merino, which is a 55% superwash merino, 45% anti-pilling acrylic. And I have a decent bit of this, and I originally got it with the intention of doing the Love Magic sweater. I don't know if I'm gonna... I think I'm going to be doing the Love Magic sweater with it, but if not, if I choose against the Love Magic sweater for this, I will be knitting the Void cardigan by Nessa's Knots Crochet. Pearl, what are you doing? Yeah, Nessa is a really cool person. We're mutuals on TikTok, and I love being able to say that, like, a super cool person who does super cool things is one of my mutuals on TikTok. It's very nice. It fills me with joy. This is the black colorway, and it will either be used for the Love Magic or the Void. And I'm going to have to put in a ton of pictures into this video. It is going to be an editing experience. Okay, this is nice, and the reason I'm thinking of doing the Void cardigan as opposed to my original plan, which was the Love Magic sweater, is that this, like, I don't know how this would feel next to skin. I'm fine with acrylic next to skin, but there's something about some acrylic wool blends that just feel a little weird. It's like almost as if the acrylic just feels more plasticky, if that makes sense. And I don't know if I will like it next to skin, so I'm thinking Void cardigan. Whatever happens, happens, and whatever I make with this, I will make with this. Or it will just sit in my stash forever, who knows. This is what I like to refer to as the big ol' basket of cellulose, because a lot of what is in here is cellulose fiber. Some of it is cellulose fiber mixed with synthetic fiber, but it's mostly all cellulose fiber. This is like, ow, that's heavy. Summer knitting and crocheting, because a few of these are going to be crochet. I'm going to talk about them now. Oh, looky, another James and Watts pattern. Last year I knit the Look at My Holes, and I really enjoyed it. Was one of my most worn things last summer, and I want to knit another one in another color other than black, and I am planning on knitting it with this green. This is Premier Cotton Fair. It is a 52% cotton, 48% acrylic, and it is a sport weight, which is what I knit my other Look at My Holes with. I used the black, and I think it will be really nice in a green. So, yeah. On the same Cotton Fair party, I have these three. This is black, this is slate gray, and this is silver. And when I wore my black Look at My Holes, I always wore a, make sure I get the name of this correct, Summer Secret Crop by Jessie Made Designs under it. Except I didn't knit it to be cropped, I knit it to be full length, and that is what I would wear under the holy shirt. And I am planning to knit 3 more because they are extremely useful to have, and I just want more. And also, like, even not in summer, it is something that is good to have under sweaters, especially if you are like me and you knit a lot of oversized things. Sometimes it's good to have another layer underneath that is closer to your skin to help hold in some more warmth. I think that'll be nice with these 3. What is my hand doing? I'm totally not about to flip you off. There we go. I think that'll be nice in this. Next up, also with Premier Cotton Fair in black, I am planning to knit the Reduplicate shorts by Marie Regnier. I'm gonna put that on the screen, or I can also, I'm on the wrong side of this issue of Pom Pom. Where are you? I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm planning on knitting the shorts out of this. And I have knit a lot of sweaters, I have knit a lot of things, and something that I keep joking about is eventually I will knit myself a pair of pants and have a full knit outfit. The thing is, a majority of my height is in my legs. I have a very short torso, which makes knitting sweaters very easy because I don't have to knit the bodies for as long. However, if I were to knit a full-length pair of pants, I feel like that would take me an eternity, and I just would not be down for that. So instead, shorts. Yes, and you can see the texture, and this issue of Pom Pom is something that, like, ever since it came out, I was like, ooh, I want to knit that, I want to knit that, I want to knit that, I want to knit that. I only have the yarn to knit one pattern from this, but I will knit other patterns from it later. This was one of my Christmas gifts from my grandma. I have the reverse subscription of Pom Pom, so the 4 issues of it that were released in 2022, you can actually see right there are the other 3. So, yes. Reduplicate shorts. Next up, I have Lion Brand Kobu. It's the 51% cotton, 49% rayon from bamboo. I have a lot of this. I think I have 18 things of it in total, so I'm planning to knit 2 different things with it. And I have those things on my list. Why isn't that border visible on my... Okay. One of the things that I'm planning on knitting with this is the Moonset Pullover by Ozetta. One of my most worn kind of sweater shirts in middle school was a V-neck green long sleeve. It's a combination between a sweater and a shirt. That's why I call it a sweater shirt. Out of a very similar shade of green to this, and because the sun is starting to set a little tiny bit, it is only 2 o'clock, what the hell. But because the sun is going down a little bit, I don't think it shows the proper shade of green. I think it looks a little bit more yellow than it is in real life. But I am planning on knitting the Moonset Pullover with this. I'm also planning on knitting the, where is it on my dang spreadsheet? The Cold Shoulder Crop by Park Williams. Because I have enough for that as well, and I think that that would be a really fun project to knit. I have a lot of her patterns saved, but I've never knit any of them, so I would like to knit one of them. And this is a DK weight. It just feels really nice. I also have a massive basket of it. I don't know if I can angle. Yeah, that basket right there. Right, okay, right there. Wait, right there is all Lion Brand Kobu. So, yes. I think the Moonset Pullover would be a great springtime thing because it's long sleeve, but it'll be nice and cool because of the cotton and rayon. And the Cold Shoulder Crop will just be a really nice summer piece. Speaking of Lion Brand and rayon, I have some of the Tributary, which is 100% rayon from bamboo. This is the, did I mention that this is the olive colorway? This is the olive colorway, and this is the slate colorway. And I am planning on knitting the Easy Teasy by Intention Designs. If you've watched Kat from, I don't think she has it as Heather and Hops anymore. But if you've watched Kat Weaver, formerly known as Heather and Hops, she has knit this pattern a few times, and I want to knit it. And I think that it will be nice and a gray. And it's also one of those things that strikes me as a pattern that can also be worn in the winter with a long sleeve shirt layered under it, which is very nice. I am planning on knitting it in summer though, because I need things to knit during the summer. I was talking to my mom, and she's like, yeah, why don't you knit the long sleeve stuff in the summer so it's ready to wear in the winter, and then knit the summer stuff in the winter so they're ready to wear during the summer. It's like, I don't think she realizes how absolutely horrible it is to knit on 100% wool in the Virginia humidity during the summer. Like, in my brain, just the thought of knitting with like a non-superwash wool and the humidity that we get during the summer, it would have felt like, yeah. But I am planning on knitting the Easy Teasy by Intention Designs and the Cold Shoulder Crop and Moonset Pullover by Rosetta. Toss those back there. More cotton, more knit picks, and more James and Watts. I am planning on knitting the Color Quadrant crop, except not doing it cropped with short sleeves. Last summer I knitted as a tank top, and I really enjoyed wearing it, except I knitted out 100% acrylic, and it just gets really hot against your skin. Acrylic holds in a lot of heat. So I think I'll get a lot of wear out of a cotton one and in my colors. This is Knit Picks Dishy. This is the Mulberry, Jalapeno, Black, and this is the Dishy Twist in Black. And I'm already thinking about what sweater I will knit to wear for my birthday. And part of me wants to do this one. Part of me wants to knit a color quadrant, but I don't know. I guess it also depends on what cardigan I'm planning to knit to wear with it. Because I'm one of those people. I knit for things. I knit for occasions, and I like to do that. Yeah. So, this is hurting my pinky. Yes. Dishy Twist to knit the Color Quadrant crop, but not make it cropped by James and Watts. And back to our good old friend Loops and Threads. Are we good old friends? I don't know. Just goes on sale a lot at Michael's, and if it's on sale, I'm friends with it, I guess. This is the cream cotton in the deep teal colorway. It is a mix of mostly cotton with a little bit of nylon, and that nylon really adds a lot of softness to it. 100% cotton can oftentimes just be really rough, and last year I noticed during the summer while knitting almost exclusively with cotton that it was wearing down the skin on my fingers where I tension my yarn. But I am planning on knitting the, I have it right here, where is it? The Evermore sweater by Kadri with it. That is what I am planning on right now. I might change because it is not a size inclusive pattern. It has my size, but it only goes up to a 2X, and I'm not entirely, all for supporting non-size inclusive designs, especially when it is a paid-for pattern. But at the same time, I cannot imagine this yarn as another sweater. So I don't know. If another pattern comes up before I knit it into the Evermore sweater, it will be knit into another pattern. Another pattern comes up that I want to knit it in. But it's just a really nice yarn, and it is a chain net construction. I don't know if you can see that. This is what I get for filming on an iPad. I mean, I don't really have anything else to film on because my phone doesn't have enough storage, but the front-facing camera is not necessarily the best for capturing detail. But yes, I am planning on knitting the Evermore sweater by Kadri. Subject to change. I think I just have 2 more patterns left on my list. So, this is Lily Sugar and Cream Cotton, which was the bane of my existence last summer because I knit everything out of it. But it creates a nice sweater, feels very nice during the summer heat. So I think I can stick with it for the 2 sweaters that I'm planning out of it this summer. And only one of them is knit, and I find it's worse to knit with than as opposed to crochet. Crocheting with it isn't bad, but knitting, because it has very little give, and it just, I don't know. I am planning on knitting the spring leaf, the Spring League Spring League sleeveless hoodie. This is by again. Alexandra Tavel of Think 2 of Wands. think that's what she does. In the black colorway. I really like the idea of a sleeveless hoodie to wear during the summer. I like wearing hoods. I like hoodies so much, but I am very sensitive to the heat, and I couldn't wear a normal hoodie. A sleeveless hoodie, on the other hand, sleeveless hoodie would be nice. So I'm planning on the Spring League sleeveless hoodie. I said it correctly. Yeah, out of Lily Sugar and Cream Cotton in the black colorway. I think this might be my birthday sweater. This with a pure mesh by James and Watts under it. The reduplicate shorts. Fishnet tights. And then, like, that's all, like, plain black. And then with the cardigan, the world is my oyster. Since my birthday is in May and sometimes the nights can be a little chilly, my birthday sweaters consist of a short sleeve and a cardigan, so, but, ooh, I could knit a full outfit for my birthday. I mean, I'd have to buy the fishnet tights because I can knit the fishnet top, the pure mesh, but I don't think I have the patience for a pair of tights. There was a fly on my iPad. That fell. Alright, last thing. I have this cone of Lily Sugar and Cream Cotton in the sage colorway, and I have two more. I used to be able to fit my whole hand in this. I am one of those people who has never struggled to reach the bottom of a Pringles can because I can just fold up my hand like a lot, like stick my thumb in that way, just. I am planning on crocheting the Summer Diamonds cardigan by, making sure I get the name right, Chiwe Rank. Really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think it will be really nice to have a summer cardigan, more of an indoor thing as opposed to an outdoor thing. I'm really sensitive to heat, so I can only wear so many layers during the summer, but I think that the kind of haori kimono style of the Summer Diamonds cardigan, it's definitely more of a haori as opposed to a kimono. A kimono is worn closed. A haori is not. It's more of a jacket type thing. But the almost like haori style of this, I think it would be very nice to have and also fun to crochet. When it comes to crochet garments, as much as I enjoy crochet, I don't crochet a lot of garments because I'm very picky about my crochet garments. But I crocheted a cardigan, a hexagon cardigan out of this yarn last June, not July, June. And I wore it a lot during the summer, and it was a cardigan, and it kept my arms covered, so I didn't have much of an issue with the sun because I'm like a vampire. I'm pale. I cannot handle the sun. The last time I got a sunburn, it was a 3rd degree sunburn, and I was told to be careful going out into the sun again because I don't want to risk skin cancer, and yeah. I'm about as fragile as a Victorian child. I think I might secretly be a vampire. Like, I have stomach issues and I can't handle garlic either. And the sun burns my eyes because I have photophobia. I just got an email. But I am planning on knitting the Summer Diamonds cardigan by Chiwe Rank. And I think it'll be nice. I think it'll be very nice to have another cotton cardigan to wear. Iklug unomas. What? Iklug is I lied. Unomas is one more. Different languages. I don't know why I do that sometimes. I was playing cards with my grandma and my sister, and I was dealing cards, and all of a sudden I started counting in German, and I never learned German, but I started counting in German like 1, 2, 3, 4. one more. This is Karen Spice Cakes in the... Why am I looking at it that up close? My eyes can't focus on that. Silver Steel colorway, and I have 4 of these, and I am planning to knit the Modern Mountain Throw Blanket by Jessica Reeves Potaz, which is a bulky weight throw blanket, and I think will be very nice. My bed is almost like it's just a pile of blankets. I don't have a comforter. I just pile a bunch of blankets. And in the last week of 2022, I crocheted my first blanket. Then right there, you can probably saw that in the background throughout the video, I have another blanket that I have been working on that is almost finished. And blankets are nice. I like blankets. They keep me warm. They keep me comfy. And I think having a bulky weight blanket would be nice. Just something a little bit heavier. I also sit at my desk a lot, and I have circulation issues, so the my feet get really, really cold. And I like having a blanket that I can just put on my feet. So this might end up being a foot blanket. I don't know. A bed blanket, a foot blanket, an everywhere blanket. Wear a blanket. Blanket. My brain is trying to come up with some like Dr. Seuss-esque poem about I could put a blanket on my bed, I could put a blanket on my head. I could put a blanket on my feet, I could put a blanket on my seat. I think I've been recording for too long. I think my brain might be fried. If you have watched the entirety of that video, thank you. I've been talking for a long time. My throat is dry. I ran out of Mountain Dew like half an hour ago from my Mountain Dew can that I've been drinking from. I've been recording for a while. I don't know how much footage I have because I've been recording them in snippets. But yes, those are my knitting plans for 2023. Subject to change, of course, but most of that is set in stone. It's concrete. I'm going to stop myself before I start talking about Roman concrete because the Romans had really nice concrete. I'm going to go now. If you are interested in finding me elsewhere, if me rambling about yarn for, this might be like at least an hour, 30 minutes at the very, very, very least. If you're more interested in me rambling about yarn for longer, I have my socials linked in my link tree below. You can find me on there. Yeah, I'm going to go now. And I'm going to go knit on one of my socks that I have on the go right now. It's a DRK Everyday Sock by Andrea Mowry. And I'm going to go run errands with my mom. And we might go to Michael's afterwards.